Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. My name is Jeff from the Bicol University Regional Center for Food Safety and Quality Assurance, and I will be your moderator for today's activity. Today, we are presenting an online technology dissemination and training series initiated by the Bicol Consortium of Agriculture, Aquatic and Natural Resources Research and Development in cooperation with the Philippine Association of Agriculturists, Bicol Canarium Uvatum Chapter, and the Bicol University through the Extension Management Division. Before we formally begin, let us have an invocation to be followed by the singing of the Philippine National Anthem through an audiovisual presentation.
Almighty, ever-living God, the most merciful and compassionate, we thank you for creation and the life you have given us. Together, we people of diverse religions, spiritual expressions and indigenous traditions, who invoke you by different names, humbly pray for your providence and protection in the midst of the COVID crisis. Strengthen and guide government leaders and private agencies, especially our administrators, faculty and staff, for the wisdom to do what is right and just. Enlighten the minds of students, that despite the educational limitations in this new normal, they may study diligently and effectively. Bless our families, remove our fears, and help us to trust in your love, so that by our example and generosity, we can inspire and help others. Grant all of us, especially the frontliners, good health and accept those who have died in your kingdom. Amen.
Bayang magiliw, perlas ng silanganan, anak ng puso, sa dibdib mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, duyan ka ng magiting, sa manlulupig, di ka pasisilip. Sa dagat at bundok, sa simoy at sa langit mabaga, may nilagang tulad, awit sa paglayang minamahal. Ang kislap ng matawat mo'y tagumpay na naniningning, ang bituin at araw niya kailan pang mali magdidilim. Lupa ng araw ng ating pagsinta, mo'y langit sa piling mo. Aming ligaya na pamay mga pirang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
And now we would like to acknowledge the presence of the delegates and the participants on this webinar. We have participants from the academe, students and faculty members from the various higher education institutes, and participants from the Department of Education. Also, we have participants from the various farmers organizations, local government units, different government agencies, and our distinguished guests and the technical staff. Thank you very much for your support, and we hope that this webinar provides you with the knowledge and information regarding the topic. Before we proceed, just a quick reminder to our participants. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the chat box to those participants in Zoom and to the comment section to those participants in our FB page. And I'll bring them up during the presentation, and we will also have time for questions during the open forum. Now, without further ado, we will turn the time over to our research speaker. Our presenter today is the Division Chief of the Philippine Coconut Authority Albay Research Center. She is currently involved in the Food Product Development Program, advancing food product development geared towards commercialization. to discuss on the topic coconut food processing, production of virgin coconut oil, VCO, using fresh, wet, natural fermentation method. Friends, let us all welcome Miss Josephine T. Nieva. Ma'am,
Thank you, Sir Jeff. Magandang hapon po sa lahat, sa
magandang
staff
hapon
po
po.
ng PICARD, ng BU, at sa lahat po ng participants. Maraming pong salamat. Ano? Share screen. Hindi. So thank you again. As part of the Technology Dissemination and Training Series spearheaded by BICARD, in behalf of the Philippine Coconut Authority Albay Research Center, I will be sharing some knowledge on one of the most popular coconut products nowadays, the virgin coconut oil, and its processing technology using fresh wet natural fermentation method. So to start with, let me first present short overview of this product. Virgin coconut oil, or VCO, is the purest form of coconut oil obtained from the fresh and mature kernel or meat of coconut by mechanical or natural means with or without the use of heat. It is water white in color at hindi ito dumadaan sa chemical refining, bleaching, or deodorizing katulad ng ating coconut oil. VCO has multifunctional uses. At dahil dito, it has found its niche in both local and international markets. Sinasabing ang VCO ay isang unique at versatile product dahil sa gamit nito for food and non-food applications. So VCO is used as body oil or substitute for moisturizing lotion, as hair and skin conditioner, an oil base for various cosmetic and skin care, a carrier oil for aromatherapy and massage oils, and most importantly, as nutraceutical and functional food. VCO is continuously gaining popularity due to its many health benefits. Several studies conducted by experts in the previous years showed that VCO can control blood sugar level and improves insulin secretion. It is cholesterol-free, trans-fat-free, and heart-healthy. It possesses anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial, and antioxidant properties. And this, nagtutulong-tulong po ang mga ito para protektahan ang ating mga ugat sa atherosclerosis. Ito po yung pag-build up ng fats, cholesterol, at iba pang substances sa ating artery walls. Ganon din, napoprotektahan din ito ang ating heart from cardiovascular disease. VCO is considered saturated fat composed of 65% medium chain triglycerides or yung tinatawag po na MCTs. Madali po itong nako-convert into energy and have been proven na nagpapataas ng metabolic rate ng individuals. The fatty acid composition of VCO is predominantly lauric acid, which is converted in the body as monolaurin na siyang responsible sa antimicrobial, antiviral, and antifungal effects in the body. So it is similar sa mother's milk that gives babies immunity from diseases. VCO is good for the skin. It moisturizes our skin. It helps in weight loss when taken 30 minutes before meals. VCO stimulates metabolism and prevents disposition of fats, thereby helps prevent obesity. Pero sinasabi rin po na ito ay tumutulong sa pag-gain ng weight when taken after meal. VCO boosts immune system. Madali po itong ma-digest or ma-metabolize in the body and goes directly to the liver for conversion into energy. It improves the nutritional value of food by increasing the absorption of vitamins, minerals, and amino acids. It inhibits the action of cancer-forming substances. Dahil sa mga nabanggit na magagandang epekto ng VCO sa ating katawan, especially ang kanyang antimicrobial, antiviral, and antifungal properties, nag-conduct ang DOST Food and Nutrition Research Institute ng study on the effect of VCO among suspect and probable cases of COVID-19. So sa studying ito, ang suspected COVID patients were served with meals incorporated with VCO. And it was found that patients who have been given VCO recovered faster than those without VCO in their food. Kaya masasabi na ang VCO could be used as an adjunct supplement to probable and suspect COVID-19 cases to help prevent symptoms from becoming severe. VCO has been regarded under consumer-rich food, health, and wellness segment. And according to UCAP, meron siyang estimated na $1.8 trillion market. Dahil sa positive effect ng VCO sa COVID-19 infection as shown by the results of the study by DOST-FNRI, bumalik at na-enhance ang interest ng mga tao sa VCO, and it is expected that there will be an increase in demand for the product by 20% by this year. Marami ng countries ang nag-i-import ng VCO, including Europe, North America, Japan, and China. To ensure that VCO produced by any processor is of good quality and safe for human consumption, nag-establish ng quality standards ang DA Bureau of Agriculture and Fisheries Standards that VCO has to conform. So this has been included in the Philippine National Standards for VCO. So ito po yung mga standards ng VCO for physico-chemical characteristics. So ito po yung kanyang mga parameters and the level po ng mga sa bawat parameters. So ang pinaka-critical po dito is yung free fatty acid and the moisture content, kasi kung hindi po within the standards or above these standards, madali po mag-rancid ang VCO. So food additives are not permitted. So meron din pong mga possible na contaminants such as the heavy metals, which are set at tolerable limit. So ito po yung mga standards. So for microbiological standards, ito po yung mga usual na parameters na established for food products. So aerobic plate count, yeast and molds counts. So meron po siyang tolerable limit na hanggang dyan po. Dapat hindi po siya tataas doon sa mga level na stipulated dito sa PNS para maging safe po ang VCO. And then pathogenic microorganisms such as Salmonella and E. coli specifically must be absent. So dito na po tayo sa technology. May iba't ibang processing technologies for VCO which are categorized into fresh-dry process and fresh-wet process. Ang fresh-dry process, ang VCO is obtained directly from the grated meat. While sa fresh-wet process, VCO is recovered from coconut milk. So ina-extract po yung gata at yun po ang pinaprocess para ma-recover po ang VCO. So sa fresh-dry process, ito po yung iba't ibang processes under this. So meron po tayong low pressure oil extraction method, high pressure extraction method, and fresh dry centrifuge method. So these are done via the wet milling process, or the high pressure method, I mean, desiccated coconut root and grated nut root. So ito pong mga method na ito, use yung mga machineries po na medyo costly. So sa fresh wet process, so simple lang po yung technology na to. Ang fresh meat is i-grate and then i-extract po ang milk, and then yung coconut milk, ito yung pinaprocess to recover the VCO. So under this process, we have the natural fermentation method, the fresh wet centrifuge method. This uses complicated equipment then and costly then, and then modified kitchen method. And then once the milk is extracted, meron po tayong byproduct na sapal or the coconut milk residue. This can still be processed into coconut flour. So this will be low-fat coconut with high dietary fiber. So maganda po ito sa colon. So didiscuss na po natin yung natural fermentation method for BCO production. So bakit po ba sinabing natural fermentation? So no fermenting substance is added. Utilizes only the natural enzymes in the coconut milk. Kasi may mga enzymes po na inherent po dito sa coconut milk, at yun po ang isa sa responsible para po magawa or mangyari itong fermentation ng BCO. So fermentation lasts up to 16 hours at regulated condition na room. So dapat hanggang 35 to 40 degrees centigrade. If above 40 degrees centigrade, nagyayelo ang BCO. Pag less than 35%, low recovery ng VCO, or sometimes hindi po nare-recover ang VCO. So we have to strictly follow this mga requirements, time and temperature. Fermentation breaks the protein and fat of the coconut milk emulsion and allows natural separation of VCO from other components such as skim milk and curd. So sa VCO processing, meron pong 3 stages. I-briefly ko lang i-discuss kasi ipapakita naman ito doon sa audiovisual presentation para makita po ninyo kung ano yung actual process na ginagawa sa VCO processing. So sa pre-processing, so isang stage, pre-processing, processing, and the post-processing. Sa pre-processing, dito ginagawa yung nut collection. So we have to select yung good quality coconut kasi quality of nut would affect the quality of the VCO produced. And then dito din po yung sa nut sanitation. So hindi po pagka-receive ng nut, ipaprocess agad siya. So we are following the requirements of GMP or good manufacturing processes. So sa nut sanitation, iwa-wash po muna siya tatanggalin yung mga yung mga fibers ng coconut, and then iwa-wash with chlorinated water. And then sa processing, ito yung step by step na ginagawa sa processing ng VCO. So after splitting, i-grate si coconut, and then i-extract si coconut milk. Then dilute it with water in 1:1 ratio, and then fermentation. And after the fermentation of for 16 hours, i-harvest na po yung VCO. And the post-processing, this is the filtration, the drying, kasi hindi natin po pwedeng hindi ito gagawin kasi para ma-ensure na ma-achieve natin kung ano yung nasa requirement ng standard. And then bottling. So eto po, pwede pong gawin itong VCO processing sa bahay. So at home scale, eto lang po yung mga simple na materials na gagamitin natin for VCO production. So naglagay na din po kami ng costing, estimated cost ng mga materials, and the quantity na kakailanganin for 60 to 80 knots production capacity. So at 60 to 80 knots, makakaproduce tayo ng 4 to 6 liters ng VCO. Ang duration po is 2 days kasi meron po siyang fermentation na 16 hours. And then ang personnel requirement, 1 to 2 personnel. So investment cost, ito po yung materials, yung costing namin sa materials, operating cost, which include the raw materials, electricity, water, and gas, for a total of 20,000 capacity. And then, ito po yung selling price na nakita namin. So, for this capacity, ang projected payback period is approximately 10 weeks with 2 production cycles per week. Hindi naman po araw-araw. So, ipakita ko lang po kasi sa VCO processing, meron po tayong ibang mga natatapon na products which can still be processed. Like sa coconut water, pwede po natin itong i-process into coconut beverage, and to enhance the taste of the coconut water, pwede po tayong maglagay ng flavors. And then, pwede rin pong gawin ito as coco toyo. And alam po naman natin, yung sa coconut vinegar. And then we also have na coconut milk residue or the sapal, which, as I said, can be processed into high fiber, low fat coconut flour. And this can be used sa ating coco pandesal and sa cookies or crunchy snacks. So, coco shell, pwede rin po siyang i-process at makaproduce nitong mga products na non-food. So, talaga po nasa niyog, wala pong nasasayang, lahat merong paggagamitan. Kaya po, ang coconut has been regarded as the tree of life. So, ipakita na po natin yung AVP on how the VCO is actually being processed. So, Sir Jeff, please.
Sir Mel?
Pwede na po, sir.
Apo. Okay, ma'am.
So, ito po, ipapakita po natin ang VCO production using natural fermentation method following the requirements of good manufacturing practices. That would affect the quality.
Virgin coconut oil is the purest form of coconut oil, water white in color, and has not undergone oxidation. It is the oil obtained from the fresh and mature kernel of coconut by mechanical or natural means, with or without the use of heat. It does not undergo chemical refining, bleaching, or deodorizing, which does not lead to the alteration of the nature of the oil. VCO is a unique and versatile emerging coconut product which has found its niche in the local and international markets due to its multifunctional uses. It can be used as a body oil, a hair and skin conditioner, an oil base for various cosmetic and skin care products, and a carrier oil for aromatherapy and massage oils. VCO is also considered a nutraceutical and functional food which could be consumed directly or used as a food ingredient. VCO is a saturated fat composed of 65% MCTs. Unlike long-chain triglycerides, MCTs are easily converted into energy by the liver and have been proven to increase the metabolic rate of an individual. The fatty acid composition of VCO is predominantly lauric acid, which is converted into monolaurine and known to have antimicrobial, antiviral, and antifungal effects in the body. VCO is cholesterol-free, trans-free, and heart-healthy. It improves the nutritional value of food by increasing the absorption of vitamins, minerals, and amino acids, and inhibits the action of cancer-forming substances. Adherence to safety and quality standards is necessary to ensure consumption of safe products and sustain market competitiveness. Food becomes unsafe when it is spoiled or tainted with contaminants that can be physical, biological, or chemical in nature. Biological contaminants are the greatest threat to food safety and responsible for majority of foodborne illness outbreaks. Raw and undercooked food products may be contaminated with bacteria, yeast, mold, and viruses that may cause diarrhea, vomiting, mental retardation, and even loss of sight in children. Physical contaminants are extraneous materials that should not be present in your food, such as hair, metal, glass, and insects. These objects can be brought in with the raw materials or introduced during storage or preparation. Chemical contaminants include detergent, pesticide residues, and other toxic substances that should not be present in food or are present at high concentrations than they would naturally have occurred. Contamination can be eliminated with good manufacturing practices, which is a system to ensure the product meets food safety, quality, and legal requirements. Implementation of GMP not only ensure a safe, sound, and wholesome product, it also increases consumer confidence in your products. It also helps to decrease operating costs due to rework and penalties during non-compliance, and help boost export opportunities. VCO processors should adhere strictly to GMPs and quality control procedures in each of these stages to ensure the production of high-quality VCO. The building, facilities, and equipment must be cleaned regularly to prevent contamination. Design and construct the building and facilities in such a way that food can be handled hygienically, easy to clean and sanitize, can prevent entry of pests, and where personnel are safe and provided with a good working environment. There must be an adequate supply of potable water. The people who work in direct contact with food processing must be disease-free, properly trained, and knowledgeable on proper hygiene. All personnel must be provided with appropriate protective clothing such as aprons, gloves, masks, hair restraints, and boots or safety shoes. All personnel must change their footwear and outer clothes and remove their jewelries and accessories before entering the processing area. All equipment, containers, and utensils must be made of food-grade stainless steel or food-grade, easy-to-clean plastic. Clean and sanitize all equipment and utensils before and after operation to prevent food contamination. Wash them with soap and water and rinse properly. Make sure that no soap residue is left. Sanitize by pouring hot water or chlorine solutions. VCO processing technologies can be generally categorized into fresh-dry and fresh-wet processes. Fresh-dry is a general term in which VCO is obtained directly from fresh coconut kernels. The processes require drying of grated, shredded, or milled fresh kernels before extracting the VCO. Process technologies under the fresh-dry category use low and high-pressure expellers and two-phase centrifuge to recover the VCO. Fresh-wet is a general term in which VCO is recovered from coconut milk by various means after it has been extracted from freshly grated coconut meat. Processing technologies under this category are the modified kitchen, natural fermentation, and centrifuge methods. Of all the VCO processing technologies, the natural fermentation method gives high oil recovery with a low labor requirement and lesser energy input. VCO production is composed of three basic stages, namely pre-processing, processing, and post-processing. Harvest mature nuts that are indicated by light brown or yellowish brown husk. Use crates or baskets. Do not place harvested nuts directly on the ground. Process nuts within 7 days from the time of harvest. Dehusk nuts carefully using round metal bar anchored in the ground to avoid cracking. If nuts will not be processed within 2 days, leave a portion of the husk attached to the eyes of the nut. Discard nuts with cracks, damaged soft eye, and germination growth. Avoid throwing the nuts during loading. Put the nuts carefully in crates to prevent them from rolling and cracking during transport from farm to the processing facility. Keep the husk nuts away from direct sunlight to prevent cracking during transport. Place nuts in elevated platform with slats to allow water to flow away from the pile if coconut shell breakages occur. Keep the storage area always clean. Inspect nuts prior to and during the whole duration of storage to remove rejects that can cause spoilage of other nuts. Strictly implement first in, first out method. Nuts first received should be processed first. Avoid storage of nuts in plastic sacks to prevent accumulation of moisture causing nut deterioration. Biodegradable sacks with big holes like jute sacks may be used as long as there is proper aeration inside the sack. Remove the remaining husk that covers the eyes of the nut. Wash the nuts with potable water to remove adhering dirt on its outer surface. Sanitize the nuts with chlorine solution and drain for 5 minutes before splitting. Cleanly split the coconuts into halves. Avoid damaging or breaking the shell of the splitted nuts to prevent injuries during grating. Split nuts above the ground and put the container on the roof to collect the coconut water and avoid spillage. To ensure that nuts are equally splitted, look for the perfect equator line that runs around the middle of the coconut. Take the bolo and whack along the line. Turn the coconut and continue whacking the equator line until the coconut splits open. Check the coconut kernel. It should be firm in texture, opaque, and white in color. Kernel with soft texture, slimy surface, and haustorium growth must be segregated and discarded. If the coconut water is to be processed into another product, process it immediately or store properly in chilled condition. If not, remove the collected coconut water regularly within an hour for further disposal. Immediately wash the floor with spilled coconut water as it ferments very fast, generate foul odor, and attract flies and ants. It can also become a source of contamination and can damage the cement surface since fermented coconut water becomes very acidic. Process nuts within 4 hours after splitting. Grate the split nuts immediately using the motorized grater. Only skilled operators must be allowed to do the mechanical grating to avoid injury. Avoid touching the grated kernel with bare hands. Use a stainless steel ladle to remove grated meat that adheres to the surfaces of the grater. Clean the grater immediately after each use using a pressurized water hose to dislodge fine coconut particles in the blade. No coconut specks should be left adhering to the grater head. Wear gloves and avoid touching the grated kernel with bare hands. Scoop the grated coconut meat, then carefully feed into the milk presser to avoid spillages. Use a stainless steel ladle to aid the feeding of grated meat that adheres to the surfaces of the equipment. Do not use hands to move the grated meat inside the hopper to avoid injuries. Filter the collected coconut milk by placing a strainer on top of the receiving container. Clean the presser thoroughly after use. No adhering grated of foul odor and attract insects. Dilute the coconut milk with warm water in 1:1 ratio. That is, add 1 cup of warm water to every 1 cup of coconut milk. Dilution with water facilitates the removal of natural gums and aid in the separation of 50 to 60 degrees Celsius. The oil may not separate at low temperature, or it may turn yellow at higher temperatures. Use potable or sterilized water to avoid contamination with unnecessary microorganisms which may come from contaminated water. Sterilize water by boiling tap water for 15 minutes. Do not fill up the container to more than 2/3 of its capacity. A considerable airspace in the container is necessary for effective fermentation. Stir the coconut milk and water mixture properly for at least 1 minute. Cover the container with either a loose-fitting lid or sterilized cloth to prevent microbial contamination during fermentation. Transfer the coconut milk mixtures carefully in the fermentation room. Do not place the containers directly below the heating bulb or lamp. Allow to settle or ferment for 16 hours at 35 to 40 degrees Celsius to produce premium grade VCO. Fermentation is a critical step as it requires proper control of operating conditions and strict observance of sanitary measures to ensure separation of oil from the coconut milk emulsion. Maintain and monitor the room temperature to not greater than 40 degrees Celsius and relative humidity not exceeding 75%. High temperatures may turn the oil yellow, while lower temperatures produces less oil, or the oil may not separate at all. When proper operating conditions and sanitary precautions are followed, 5 distinct layers will appear in the fermenting container after 16 hours. The fermented curd rises as a thick top layer. Below it is the oil layer that will be recovered as VCO. Next is another thin layer of fermented curd, followed by the water layer of fermented skim milk. Settling in the bottom is a layer of gum sediments. Carefully transfer the pails from the fermentation room to the top layer using a skimmer without disrupting the oil below. Scoop the oil in a container topped with a strainer and filter cheesecloth. Replace cheesecloth as needed or when it is already filled with remaining curd and can no longer filter the VCO. VCO is filtered to remove adhering particles of the fermented curd. Filtration is a critical step as it is where the remaining physical hazards in the VCO product could be eliminated. The filtering medium used is cotton wrapped in sterilized cheesecloth. The modified gravity filter is composed of two cylindrical water containers placed on top of the other over a plastic pail as receptacle, held together by a fabricated mild steel frame. Carefully pour the VCO in the sterilized container and allow to trickle down. Replace cotton filters after every use or after one full container is filtered. Drying is the removal of residual moisture which aids in the elimination of remaining microbial hazards in the final VCO product. Presence of water in VCO will cause it to get rancid and shorten its shelf life. Dry the VCO by indirect heating using a double boiler. Fill the bowl with enough VCO up to the same level of water in the pot. Once the water in the pot starts to boil, reduce the heat to allow the hot water to simmer only. Prevent water bubbles get into the VCO being dried. Observe formation of bubbles in the drying VCO. When all the bubbles disappear, simmer for about 15 minutes to ensure complete drying. Do not allow the VCO to boil and the water inside the pot to dry. Aging of VCO is an additional process done to ensure removal of any faint sour smell caused by aromatic compounds from the fermentation process. It also helps in settling residual moisture in VCO. Pack the VCO in a suitable bottle or container inside a clean and disinfected area dedicated for packaging to prevent contamination. Label the packed VCO in accordance with FDA labeling requirements. For every batch or lot, pick a minimum of 3 bottles as samples to be submitted to accredited laboratory for testing. Store packed VCO in an enclosed area with proper ventilation, protected from direct sunlight and materials with strong odors. Release the products only after laboratory test results came back showing conformance with the Philippine National Standard for VCO. Keep and maintain daily record of production and other data in the VCO plant. These records are necessary for traceability and monitoring purposes. Records provide data to compute for the production costs and determine the efficiency and ascertain if productivity is improving.
So, yun po yung kung paano ginagawa yung BCO. So, I hope na-follow ninyo yung yung mga steps, yung process. So, just to ayan na. Yung sa frequently. Yan. Just to mention some of the frequently asked questions, baka meron po kayong mga in mind na mga itatanong. So, ito po merong nag-compile po kami ng frequently asked questions like what causes the yellow color in coconut oil? So, it can either be bacterial contamination or as mentioned kanina, high process temperature. So, is VCO that solidifies in air-conditioned room or in a refrigerator still usable as a nutraceutical substance or functional food? Yes, it is. It is natural for VCO to be solid at 22 degrees centigrade and below and liquid at 27 degrees centigrade and above. So what is the maximum recommended daily dosage to obtain health benefits from VCO? 50 ml or 3.5 tablespoon of virgin coconut oil. What is the best time to take VCO? So it depends on what benefit you want to achieve. As I said kanina, pwede siyang, it could help in pag-loss ng weight or in gaining weight. So for controlling weight, take it 30 minutes before meals. As treatment for constipation, take full dose before bedtime. To boost your immune system, take it any time of the day. And then if you want to gain weight, take it after meals. So that's all for my presentation. Thank you so much for listening. And if you have any inquiries or any further questions, you can email us at this email number. So thank you so much. Thank you, Bicard. Thank you, sa BU, and to all the participants. God bless us all.
Hello, ma'am. Good afternoon po.
Hello, good afternoon, Sir
Yes, ma'am.
Jeff. Mm-mm.
So there we have it. Thank you so much, Ma'am Josephine. Now we will go ahead and take some time for questions from our participants if they have. So kanina po na-answer na rin ni Ma'am Josephine yung ilan sa mga frequently asked questions regarding the VCO. So for our participants, just a reminder, please be sure to type your questions into the chat box for your comments. So we have, first of all pala ma'am, I have a personal question regarding VCO. So there are a lot of
Yes, po.
VCO available in the market. So how can we check or identify the quality and purity of VCO?
Mm-mm. Ah, yung mga VCO producer, ay yung mga VCO na available in the market, PCA has a list of registered VCO possessors. So I think those VCO products in the market are registered with PCA. Kung tungkol po doon sa how to ensure that the VCO is not alterated, meron pong mga pwedeng gawin po doon through testing. Meron pong profile ang VCO as stipulated din po yun doon sa Philippine National Standards. Pero kung it would sa mga processors po, yung iba nagpapatest po noon. Pero for the commercial products na available in the market, we can check with PCA, sino-sino or yung mga registered na VCO processors to make sure na hindi okay po yung kanilang mga products. At saka po yon, mga nagpass po yon sa FDA standards or sa FDA. And also pass the Philippine National Standards.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you very much po. And another question, ma'am, regarding po sa VCO production, kasi baka po meron tayong mga participants that is interested on the current technology regarding the VCO production. So how can they access the technology? Do you provide seminars, trainings, or workshop for interested individuals?
Before the pandemic, we did techno demo or on-site training. Nagre-request po sa regional offices namin, and then kung meron po silang request, pino-forward po sa amin and ini-schedule po namin yung trainings. That was before the pandemic. Pero now, and we also have VCO processing facility here in Albay Research Center na kung may nagre-request din po, dito namin kinukondak yung training. So they do come here and avail of the training services. Pero ngayon nga po, since dahil dito sa pandemic, what we did was to produce nga or generate the AVP, and then the PCA Central Office, I think they have already upload it sa YouTube para ma-access po noong mga interested na mag-venture on VCO processing. But that is only for natural fermentation. There are other methods like the centrifuge method for the training. We can do yung seminar, mga theoretical lang, pero kung halimbawa yung actual process na makikita, we cannot do it for now. So siguro after the pandemic, sana.
Opo, yes nga po ma'am, lalo ngayon may pandemic ma'am. Thank you so much for answering my question. Yes po.
Mahirap din naman kasi na i-train mo through yung verbal lang, kasi mas madali kasi yung actual training na you are actually doing the process.
Yes ma'am. Yes po. So we have other questions from the participant from our Zoom, from Miss Jane. How long is the lifespan of VCO?
It depends po doon sa quality noong ano. Marami pong factors that affect the lifespan of BCO. Depende, minsan po depende doon sa packaging material o doon sa bottle na na ginamit. Pero as far as with my experience when I was still in the laboratory, na that time nagko-conduct ako ng shelf stability ng BCO. Ang isang nakita ko doon is if bottled doon sa glass bottle, mas matagal yung ang shelf stability niya. Doon sa na-experience ko, it took 2 years. Or doon sa 2 years na yon, okay pa sila. So it could be extended. Pero since yung ang request ng client is for 2 years, doon lang na test. Pero hanggang 2 years, okay pa siya. For other yung packaging materials, yung mga PET bottles, depende kasi depende doon sa nagiging moisture content at as I said doon sa Philippine National Standards merong maximum level, pero the lower the level ng BCO, mas matagal yung nagiging shelf stability ng BCO.
Okay, so I hope that answers the question po. So next question from Zoom, we have from Nam Pargash. Does coconut oil produce free fatty acids and how it reduces hunger or diet? Ma'am?
As I mentioned kanina, ang coconut oil has fatty acids. Iba't iba yung meron siyang fatty acid profile. So, meron lauric acid, meron caproic acid, meron caprylic acid. So, lahat yun, meron yun ang coconut oil. So, iba-iba lang po ang level niya. So, inherent po doon sa coconut ang fatty acid. So, yun nga po yung mataas po yung content ng fatty acid na ang mostly is lauric acid na yun po ang nako-convert into monolaurine pag nasa body na at yun ang responsible doon sa antimicrobial, antiviral, and antifungal properties.
Okay, ma'am. Next question po. What makes extra virgin coconut oil different from the regular VCO?
Oh, actually, yan ang isang sinasabi namin doon sa nagli-label ng extra VCO. There's no such thing as extra VCO. Kumbaga parang marketing strategy lang yan para pero there's no such thing. It's virgin coconut oil, but there's no such thing as extra VCO.
Okay po. I hope that clears up the concern regarding the extra VCO and the regular VCO. Next question, ma'am, from Maris Estrella. Do you have available VCO po for sale?
Ma'am Maris, wala po. Kasi affected po ng typhoon yung aming VCO production dahil doon sa raw materials. Kasi dito sa center, ma'am, wala pong meron po kami commitment sa region, so hindi kami basta nakakakuha ngayon ng raw materials dito. Pero sa ngayon po napuproduce kami na pero not for sale.
Okay po. So we have other questions po regarding the side effects of taking VCO. Is there any side effect po?
For the first timer, yung iba pag nagte-take ng BCO medyo nag-lose, pero hindi naman yun, kumbaga parang siguro natitoxify lang. Pero ang isang effect talaga na nakikita ko sa BCO kasi I'm taking BCO, so nakaka-energize talaga siya, hindi madaling mapagod. So yun, ang isang merong study na kinonduct ang collaborative project ng UST and PCA. VCO increases high cholesterol, yung HDL and lowers bad cholesterol. Yun yung isang naging finding doon. Pero as to the effect of BCO doon sa physical na na nakikita na effect, yun ang isang ko matitestify ko na talagang nakaka-energize siya.
Yes, ma'am. So you would you recommend, ma'am, for those person who are on diet taking BCO?
Kasi ang sabi nga doon, if taken ginagamit yata sa keto diet yung BCO.
Yes. Yes,
I
ma'am.
think.
So there we have it. We have other question po regarding the contraindications that shall prevent one in taking BCO. Is there any contraindications, ma'am, regarding
yung contraindications?
Limitation that hinders one in taking BCO?
I think wala naman akong alam na contraindications. Siguro ang kung pwede lang gawin is pwede mag-take ng BCO kung halimbawa makikita na, kasi hindi ko alam yung nagiging effect din doon sa iba in terms of doon sa mga triglycerides, kung meron tumataas ba or bumababa. Pero meron pong mga nagte-testify na bumababa naman yung kanilang yung triglycerides. So, yun, yung ibang contraindications I cannot answer. Or siguro yung mga experts, yung nagko-conduct ng ng mga clinical researches. Like the FNRI, sila Dr. Dairit.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much po. And it seems like marami sa ating mga participants are interested with taking VCO, and we have a follow-up question regarding the concentration of VCO. When we buy VCO as food supplement, how long should we consume it once it's open?
Ang kasi, once na inopen mo yung bottle, pagka laging ino-open, madaling nagra-rancid. Pero ang advice ko lang, halimbawa, kung bumili ng halimbawa, yung mga 1 liter na BCO, you can transfer it to yung smaller na bottle. Para kasi pag ino-open lagi, nag-oxidize siya, so madali ding hindi naman madali, pero chances are siya. Merong mga chemical reaction doon sa sa BCO. Pero sa akin, sa experience ko, doon sa na ngayon, mga 200 or 250 in 1 month, hindi naman siya nasisira agad. Basta laging tightly sealed, hindi naman tightly sealed, tightly na siya naka-close after every use.
Okay, ma'am. Regarding the container, ma'am, a follow-up question from a participant from the Catanduanes State University. Most of the VCO in the market is placed in plastic bottles. How does the PCA regulate this matter, knowing that it could preserve well its shelf life in bottles?
Yung mga nasa PET bottles, meron naman kasing mga gauge ang yung PET bottles. So, ang mga PET bottles naman na ginagamit are all food grade. So, yung mga nasa market, hindi ako sure, hindi ko masagot kasi ang mga VCO processors, nagpapatest sila ng shelf stability nila sa PCA. So, nadidetermine ni PCA sino yung mga producers or kung merong list yung lab namin na doon sa stability, doon sa kung ano yung mga shelf stability ng ng VCO. Pero I don't know kung pwede yung i-disclose. Pero merong mga study po kasi before mag-issue ang FDA ng license to operate, isang requirement yun na magkaroon ng shelf life study doon sa product nila. Na yon coming from one production batch. So usually for 1 year ang hinihingi ni FDA.
Okay po. I think this will be our last question for today. Regarding, ma'am, the age limit when taking VCO, is there any age limit? or ideal age for taking VCO?
Parang wala naman po siguro, except siguro sa mga bata, yun lang siguro ang hindi titingnan muna doon sa mga bata kung kaya nila. Pero as to the adults, teens and adults, I think wala namang age to sa pag-take ng VCO. So ipopromote ko na rin po na i-recommend ko din na mag-take ng VCO kasi meron naman tayong study talaga na nagpo-prove, especially during this time na merong pandemic, na hindi man po siya nakaka-treat but it could prevent, or if there are symptoms, mas madali po yung recovery ng ng patients na halimbawa may suspected, or kung wala man, makakatulong po sa pag-prevent ng infection.
Okay, so it looks like we've covered all our questions. Thank you so much, Ma'am Josephine. Is there anything else you wanted to cover before we wrap up? Additional information, ma'am.
Oo, so yun po, maraming salamat po. Yun po yung sinabi ko nga na recommend ko to take VCO. So ipipromote ko na po talaga yung VCO.
Okay.
Kasi kahit ako ay hindi ako masyadong nagtitake noon, pero since alam ko naman na may mga health benefits talaga na makukuha si VCO, we can try pwede naman siya kung kasi yung iba kasi hindi ma-take yan directly. Pero yung iba minimix siya sa sa coffee.
Okay. So thank you very much, Ma'am Josephine, and we learned a lot from your comprehensive discussion on the current technology regarding the VCO production. With this, let us give Ma'am Josephine a virtual round of applause.
Thank you.
Okay, so there we have it. Just an announcement. The webinar evaluation will be posted on the chat box and on the comment section. And so we may request our participants to accomplish the form to receive your certificate. So thank you very much, everyone. We appreciate you being here. And thanks again for joining us today. And we will be seeing you next time. So for our participants in Zoom, for our photo documentation, may we request that your camera will be turned on for the photo documentation po.
Thank you, Sir Jeff.
Thank you so much, Ma'am Josephine.
Thank you, Ma'am Maris.
Sir Mel. Are we taking photos na po?
Yes, sir.
Okay po.
One more.
Okay, so once again, thank you very much, everyone, and have a great day and keep safe always.
Thank you.
Thank you po.